This isn't games at an orgy. That's a different list.
Let us know if you want to.
Yeah, sure. No, our parents watch this.
Kim, it's been over a year. You need to get over your ex and find someone new.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
This again? Come on. You guys know I have too many board games to play. Can we just drop this and just go play Undover already?
No, I don't even know what that means. Yeah, get on the dating apps and you find yourself a guy.
Really?
Yep, go on.
Seriously? Do I have to?
Yep.
Fine.
Hell no. Absolutely not. What is he thinking? Ooh. Now that's what I'm talking about. Oof. Look at the size of his collection. Is it getting hot in here? Oh yeah.
Damn! Now that's the man.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Mike.
And I'm Kim.
You're watching Tabletop Turtle. So today we're doing something a little different. We got a top 10 list of games that'll definitely get you laid.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody's attracted to a board game. This is for guys, this is for girls, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants a gamer. So we have a very specific criteria for this list, okay? The first thing is that the game has to fit on a small surface. It has to fit on a coffee table.
It can fit in a board game table if they have
No,
one.
you can't make moves at a board game table. You can't be like, oh.
You clearly can. You
Ooh.
clearly can. And it gives you that room to scooch together a little closer.
They can cry on your shoulder when they lose.
That's
What?
He's just a loser in the game. Ask our friends.
Games should be simple. There shouldn't be a lot of opportunity where you go into that sort of think tank and you just completely ignore the person sitting beside you.
Yeah, the idea is that you're playing a game, yes, but it's also possibly a first, second, early date where you kind of still want to get to know each other.
And the games can be competitive, but they can't be directly competitive. You know, you're not sitting your date down to play Magic the Gathering and then wallop them with a bunch of spells.
It's competitive, but not too mean or aggressive. Yeah, like a little friendly competition, kind of makes it a little more spicy.
It's playful. The game should be relatively short. Obviously, your main prerogative here isn't playing a board game for 6 hours. It's something else. You know what I'm saying?
Getting to know that person.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, getting to know the person.
When you're still sussing out if that person is a board gamer or could be a potential board gaming partner, you don't want to scare them away.
Don't reveal your hand all at once. Let them think you're a normal person. And then over time, you'd be like, no, this is who I am. Now let me slowly corrupt you. And it's like inching forward. That's what I did with you. I didn't reveal everything. You think with our first date, I was like, oh, Kim, I like to paint miniatures. And by the way, I play Dungeons and Dragons and I play a crap ton of board games. And this is where all my money goes to. No, I was like a little thing. We went to one of her little parties with her friends and I brought over King of Tokyo. And I was like, oh, maybe we'll play King of Tokyo. It's a silly little board game. Maybe you'll like it. And then I have a clause on her. Now look at her. She has a YouTube channel on board games. An extra bonus criteria, cute. Kawaii. And at number 10, we have Evergreen. Evergreen is a 1 to 4 player game where players are essentially growing an ecosystem. And on your turn, you're going to select a card and then plant either trees or sprouts, all in an effort to gain victory points. And the coolest mechanic of this game is the sun, which sort of rotates around the board. And what you want to do is you want your trees to score points, but each of your trees can cast a shadow depending on the placement of the sun. So it's a very clever mechanic. I like this game a lot.
I kind of like that the theme and idea is like growing things, and it's
like growing a relationship.
Yeah, just growing things together. It's so wholesome,
The only competition here, really, and it's not like we said before, it's not in your face competition, is card selecting. So you might be able to select a card that the other player wants, but it's not going to put you in the doghouse. And at number 9, we have Tiny Towns. Tiny Towns is a game where both of you are building your own little cities using these cubes. It's sort of like a bingo game that you're both going at these. It's not actually bingo. It's not actually bingo. You're a young hip couple.
Yeah, you're 50 years too early for bingo.
That's right. But you're essentially taking these little cubes and you're placing them on your own personal board. And then you're looking at these cards that are available for everybody that formulate a certain building pattern. And you want to build in that pattern with those cubes to make your building.
And obviously it's super cute. The aesthetic is very pretty.
Very much so.
It's very charming. I like a lot of these games where I feel that most of these games kind of fall in the flirty or charming. This is a very charming, nurturing,
It is charming.
wholesome type
Like
game.
a small village. You're building a small village. Actually, most of these games you're sort of building something.
Yeah, you're building a town together.
Yeah.
How cute.
It's a very cool optimization spatial puzzle that provides a lot of room for discussion. You know, you can sort of look at what your partner's doing and be like, oh, you decided to build the building there.
Yeah, I think a lot of these games that we are recommending today, we really try to focus on games that, allowed for some kind of engaging conversation and discussion.
My only complaint with the game is it can be a little swingy. But if that's your thing, no judgment. And for number 8, we have Santorini. So Santorini is a 1 to 2 player game, although I think it says 1 to 4 player game, but you never play with 4. It's basically a 2-player game where both parties are building a city together. And the objective is to get your little dude that you're moving around on your turn onto the 3rd level of a building. And once you do that, you win. It sounds super simple, but the other opponent can essentially mess you up by putting the little tops on top of the building.
And you have god powers too, these cards, and different cards get different powers. There's a lot of ways to make it more spicy and make it more competitive, to put your opponent on edge a little.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more competitive games on the list, I think.
But I think you need that, right? Like some games are like Tiny Towns, more charming and sweet, and you're building stuff together and friendly. This adds a whole new level of a kick to it.
It's a spice.
Exactly. The art and the whole board game itself is so pretty, especially as you're building layers. It's very, if you enjoy tactile things, definitely this is not like a card kind of game or just,
and again, you're
chips.
building something together too, which is kind of cool.
Well, that is true. You are building the Santorini together.
And number 7, we have King Domino. King Domino is a game where you're building your own little city or town. I guess it's more of a kingdom. And you have these big chonky dominoes. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to connect various lands together to score points at the end of the game. So, for example, a forest.
And as tiles come up, you just kind of take turns picking the tile, and you're building your own landscape. I'd say that's like the only game where if you wanted to, you could fully forget about thinking strategy and be super immersed in conversation and just kind of play this on the side. At the same time, it's the kind of game that also allows for strategy if you wanted to think that way. So if you're really unsure if your person you're playing with has that strategic mind, pull out this game and see if they do really badly, you're like, oh, can't go any happier than this kind of game. Whereas if they do a good job, you're like, we can play Twilight Imperium next time.
That's right. If they can't learn this game, you don't want a second date. You don't want a second date.
Exactly.
This game's super easy to learn. Super easy to learn.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about the game, is I know I can bust this out with anybody. And it's the quickest of the game. And sometimes you just need a quickie.
Does the job.
And number 6, we have Calico. Calico is a puzzly tile laying game where you're attracting cats who want to sleep on your quilt. And you do that by matching certain patterns. And then the other way you can get victory points is you have these scoring objectives, and you want to surround the scoring objectives with either similar colors or similar patterns.
I think this game is so thematic, and it fits right to this video. You're trying to encourage, build a bit comfy enough and cozy enough and attract cats into it.
And you can cuddle under a quilt while playing.
Oh.
So you could.
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of game where you could possibly play on a bed or just a blanket on the couch.
You can't play in a bed. The tiles would go everywhere. It's all about building things together.
Yeah. That are cute and quick.
Mm. And cats.
And now we're moving on to our top 5 games on our hot date night list. And things are going to get a little bit more exciting, a little more fast-paced. Games going to get a bit more flirty. And in 5th position, we have Cartographers.
So flirty.
It is a flirty game.
Is it?
I think it's super exciting. So, like you mentioned to me earlier on that, it's kind of similar to Tiny Towns. And I agree in some way that, you have these cards that flip up. But the very unique thing about this game is it's a flip and right type of game, but it's a flip and draw kind of game. So you have this map, and instead of putting down little cubes, you are drawing down the trees, the monsters, and things like that. And the reason I think it's such a great 2-player / date night game, and Goose thinks so too, is because anytime you do any artsy thing with someone, it's so engaging and interactive, right?
It's like a cheap paint night.
Okay, cut
You
the
could
cheap
bust
part.
out the wine.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of board game can bust out wine. It's just
And then you could show them your amazing art skills or your really crappy art skills and just show them that all your forests look like mushrooms. Whichever.
Are you dissing my trees?
I mean, they're not as good as my trees.
Because you're drawing something. It allows a lot of room to talk.
Yeah, a lot of room. And if you finish first, hey, you know what? It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to finish first.
No, it's not.
And at number 4, we have Caper, specifically Caper Europe. So in Caper Europe, you are building a sort of collection of thieves. And your objective is to take over 3 different locations. And what that means essentially is that you have this sort of push and pull mechanic where it's a tug of war, where each round you're playing cards. And sometimes those cards are the masterminds, the thieves themselves, or sometimes the cards are the tools that accompany those thieves. This is a very cool game. It's very cute, super cute.
It feels like such good quality materials and build. It feels very high end. And it kind of makes sense on the whole.
Show your high class.
You're fancy.
That's right. With Caper Europe. Yeah, it's a super cool game. There's lots of different ways to get victory points. It's deceptively strategic.
Yes.
It looks super simple, but there's a lot of depth to it. And
Absolutely.
it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Highly recommend.
And it kind of feels like a role playing game because you're thieves
Yeah, a
trying
little
to
bit.
steal the art and stuff like that. It's definitely
There's so
fun.
much character in this game. There's so much character.
Yeah, the art as well definitely shows that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah.
Number 4.
And it has card drafting, so you could have indirect hand holding. And at number 3, we have Potion Explosion. So Potion Explosion is a game where you're building potions, essentially. What that means mechanically is that you have this track, and there's a bunch of marbles on this track. And what you want to do is you want to take one of those marbles out, and then if like color marbles touch each other after you've taken that marble out, you get to take those as well. And so what happens is you create this sort of chain reaction. So the strategy comes from selecting the right marble to get as many different color marbles as you can in one turn.
This is how you build your love potion.
That's right.
It's a really, really fun game.
It is.
It's so colorful, so pretty.
Yeah.
The entire main mechanic of the game of just picking marbles and filling up your potion is so simple. Like a lot of these games here, if you're playing someone you don't know if they're a strategic player or not, so simple. Just pick up a marble, put it down. Like how hard can that be?
This is the easiest game to teach. Like absolutely the easiest game to teach.
Absolutely.
It's super colorful, and it's one of the reasons we play board games and not video games, right? It's very tactile.
Yeah.
You're picking up these big chunky marbles, and you hear them clink and clank. It's cool.
This game is so fun. It's definitely one of the first games that made me fall in love with board games, I think. Yeah. We played it not with 2 players, but if he was smart, he would have pulled this on our first date.
That's true. I would have got laid much sooner. Oh, your parents are watching this.
And in second place, we have a really special game. I think it's extremely underrated. We hear nobody talking about it.
Not usually.
It's not really new, but it's such a fantastic game. And it is Arcane Academy. It's a very unique magic themed game where you're basically a student in this magical school and you're given unique individual assignments where you're trying to complete your resources and collect and complete these mini assignments, but such a unique mechanism in the tile collection interface.
Yeah, which is the main mechanism of the game is the tile placement. You can select from an open selection of tiles and put them into your own personal tableau. And what you're trying to do is when you select an action from one of your own personal tiles, whatever tile is connected to that one through these little, I don't know what they call them, let's call them buttons, but whatever's connected to those things all trigger. So it's this sort of like cascading action selection, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it allows like kind of really strategic thing where like, okay, do I take this one tile now so I get an immediate effect? Or am I trying to build out this more complex structure so that when I activate it later, they all activate and I have a much better engine that I built to collect resources.
Super satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the art is gorgeous.
Oh, it is. It is really nice.
It's such a special game.
Highly recommend, and it's like never talked about ever.
Yeah, it's a great 2-player game. It, like a lot of these great games, allows for no strategy, high strategy, both ways, a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And then at number 1, we have Patchwork. Because you can never have too many games that involve quilting, because quilting is the sexiest of textiles.
Sexy, steamy, hot date kind of thing.
And buttons.
Yeah.
So in this game, what you're doing is you're building your own quilt, and you're doing so with these sort of Tetris-like shapes that you select from a giant circle. And then what you're trying to do is you build the quilt to build it as functional as possible, but also provide you some income. The income comes in the form of these little buttons. But what's interesting about the game is that those buttons are not only your currency, but they're also your victory points.
Your end game objective.
Yeah, which is really neat. It's really neat when games do that because it challenges you a little.
It's one of those super deceptively simple games that can be very strategic, and
It's just chill.
Most of these games, it's not cooperative, but it's also not very confrontational.
No.
It's competitive, but it's a friendly...
There's nothing mean about this game. There's a portion where you're moving around the score track and there are bonus buttons available, and so there becomes this sort of race to get those bonus buttons. But that's as confrontational as you can get, other than just taking a person's quilt tile. But even then, most of the other quilt tiles are always pretty satisfactory.
Yeah, it's such a cute game. It's a lot of these games are so charming, comforting, and something very...
It's got a good vibe to it.
Yeah, cathartic almost, of like building something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very fun to play, and it's a great first date, first introducing board game, someone kind of game.
Quilting.
Patchwork.
Sexy.
Preparing them for a life of patching up all your broken clothes.
Building a quilt to get nasty under. Nasty boys don't mean a thing. Janet Jackson. Hopefully you enjoyed this list. Obviously, it was a little tongue-in-cheek. This list is pretty much for individuals who are a couple or just two players in general. Yeah, and then hopefully we can reinvent the whole Netflix and chill thing.
Yeah.
Be like...
Yeah, Netflix and chill is over.
Yeah, that's done.
Netflix,
that's so
the whole profit sharing thing,
2020. Yeah. This is...
2020.
This is, I don't know. This is board games and bone. Board games and bone.
I see.
Play and lay. Family friendly channel. Sorry, Mom.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and let us know in the comments below if you ever got laid because of a board game.
I don't know if that's... I'd be really interested if that was true, if that was possible.
I mean,
Maybe.
there are many board game couples out there, and board game YouTubers, even couple YouTubers even.
Other people's board game collections get my motor running.
But thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks for watching,
and we'll see you in
guys.
the next one. Bye.
Peace. Nobody wants to have sex with somebody who plays Twilight Imperium.